Hey YouTube, welcome back to another History Teacher Reacts video of Mr. Terry as I continue my search for historical knowledge found here on YouTube. Alright, today's video comes from our awesome patrons over at Patreon, and this week they voted on this video, and it is History of the Vikings in One Take by History Bombs. Alright, so heading back to the History Bombs people, they love to do historical songs, raps, and we've checked out a couple that were great lines, good historical perspective, a lot of fun, and really high quality. So I'm excited to check this one out. I've got my Viking shirt. If you're watching this, we're on the eve in the early days of the release of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which you can find me streaming either on this channel or more likely on the Mr. Terry Gaming channel or on Twitch at Mr. Terry History. All right, let's go ahead and get started. The bombs, history bombs. All right, drop some bars for us. The longship. Oh.
The time is now. This is the age of the Vikings.
Yes. All right, we going with like Norwegian death metal. It sounds like a fitting fit for Vikings in modern music from the region.
It's the warriors from Scandinavia here to
Alright, do the rap.
It's an epic tale, and it's time to tell it. But no, they didn't wear horns in their helmets.
True.
Yes, they were violent, but not just raiders, farmers, explorers, and masterful traders.
I mean, I think a lot of you might know, because it's like just it's one of those like little pieces of knowledge everyone just likes to throw around to sound smart. The whole idea that the Vikings didn't use horn helmets. Those would have no efficient purpose in combat, and these people are efficient fighters. It seems to have come in, I believe, later on more with like theatrical like depictions of Vikings for whatever reason, but it had no like real value or real place in history. They did say though, one of the misconceptions a lot of people don't know about with the Vikings is more of their way of life, which is actually very simple. They said that they were mostly farmers and herders, and that's generally what they had done in their homeland.
It's history bombs. Keep up with the pace. But why did the Vikings leave home in the first place?
True.
I'm sorry about your dad, but at least
Eric.
you stand to inherit his pad. Sure, you'll be lonely in such a big house.
Doesn't get it though.
Shouldn't you be looking for a suitable spouse?
No, the house will go to another. The lands will pass to my older brother.
Yes.
I'm left with nothing, completely bereft. So you still want to marry me? Oh, she's left.
Okay, true story there. This actually was common in Europe all over the place. Since this is an era where land ownership is generally passed through your family line, the estate went to, they didn't just break it up and give it to all the children. They gave it into to usually the oldest son. So if you were one of the other children, that kind of meant that you had to kind of go your own way when it comes to owning land. You had to find another way to do it. One of the things where you saw this really come into effect in Europe was the Crusades, where it was quite a motivating factor for a lot of these noblemen that weren't going to get these estate inheritances because they weren't the eldest sons. So going to the Crusades might be a way to be able to expand their power and expand potential land ownership and things like that. So you saw this a lot in the whole Middle Age Europe, and a lot of it tied to feudalism.
That's right. In Scandinavia, younger sons might not inherit their father's estate, and without land and wealth, they'd struggle to find a wife. This led to a growing number of intrepid young men willing to risk their lives using the later ship technology to become
Vikings, quick, brothers, sound the alarms. The heathens have made it to Linda's farm. These men are such brutes, they're so sadistic. Don't worship one god, they're polytheistic.
Yeah, so that's one of the things when they were invading places like England. England had converted, by this time when the Vikings start coming around the 700s or so, there had been spread into Christianity had become dominant over there, and Christianity came a little bit later to Viking homelands in Scandinavia. It does come in and then becomes largely converted. But yeah, it was when they invade places like England, that was a big religious class because you had this polytheism versus monotheism, so believing in multiple gods versus one god, and that often came in conflict.
Long words, monk. Aren't you clever? We're still gonna steal all of your treasure.
Will you kill us all?
True.
We're not that depraved. We'll take this one back to be our slave.
Monasteries, by the way, were a place that got raided a lot. Monasteries were some of the wealthiest places in England, so it carried a lot of things that the Vikings wanted to be able to use or to be able to sell. So these Christian, held places were of great incentive for Vikings to be able to invade, which I'm sure just probably like continued or built upon this idea that the Vikings were, again, these evil places because they were, doing these blasphemous raids of places of God, which probably just brought in a stereotype that way. Last thing I talked about is, sometimes they would bring people back to their homeland. And it was done quite extensively because they have done, when they've looked in graves and stuff in Scandinavia, they have found, remains of people from all over the place. Some as far as into Asia. Which had been found recently. In fact, if you guys don't know, my occasional show I do, History Live, where I go through the recent findings that have come into archaeology and history. Just recently, I heard about an article of them finding someone from Asia, and more like Central or Eastern Asia, finding remains there. So, that definitely happened, and very extensively.
793, the first Viking raid struck an island monastery off the English coast called Lindisfarne. Further raids soon followed in England, Ireland and France. The raids grew in size and frequency until entire communities took to the sea to settle abroad.
Yeah, we make it like the whole clan goes.
Norway, make Ireland my land. The Vikings in Dublin are set to expand.
Okay, so Ireland
We
now.
had such a good crack. We picked up our wives and now we're back.
Denmark is crowded, Sweden is cold. So pack up your things, the gods favor the bold. Expand your horizons, it's time to think global.
We're even getting on with the friendly locals.
In 841, a Viking...
At least that's what they say, right? So, okay, so they've gone from England, and then they're going, into Ireland, and it seems to be going well there. A good geography there, warmer climates and stuff than maybe some of they got in Scandinavia. So it seems, again, very incentivizing for these groups to, again, leave with their whole clan and head on some boats and head west into literally what they thought were greener pastures.
fleet settled in Dublin, Ireland, and established a thriving town which became a centre of trade. Whilst they settled in Dublin quite peacefully, things got a lot uglier in 865 when the Great Heathen Army landed in England.
Different story.
If you dare attack me, it won't be much fun here. What makes you think you can possibly harm me? What is so great about your heathen army?
Capital King Ayla and Ivor the Boneless. This time tomorrow you'll surely be homeless. We've amassed an army.
I don't know this
of
person.
Norwegians. Christian York will fall to us heathens.
Ivor the Bonus took York.
York was one of the big kind of capturings, as York is still a very influential city in England, one of the older ones that was definitely colonized by there. So you're seeing larger scale takeovers, and not just going on just some little uninhabited coastal part or small village. You're like taking over whole cities.
The next decade took control of East Anglia, Northumbria and Mercia, an area which became known as Danelaw. It fell to Ivor's successor, Guthrum, to take England's final stronghold, but in 878 he met his match at the Battle of Edington against a legendary king.
We getting Alfred, yeah?
Guthrum, my friend, you lost the war, mate. There's a reason they call me Alfred the Great.
Yeah.
Really, I believe you must be insane to think that Wessex would fall to you, Danes.
Alfred the Great, kind of known as this great expeller of, in a way, of Vikings, or at least saving England and what's kind of left with it at this time from these invasions.
This is my fate. Am I going to prison?
Oh, far worse. It'll be a baptism.
Torture is
Make him be
the
Christian.
place you got rough.
Oh, it's more like just having a bath.
The Treaty of Alfred and Guthrum secured several years of stability for Alfred. Elsewhere, the Vikings made great conquests. In 911, Rollo secured Normandy in northern France, and to the north, an explorer made an extraordinary discovery.
Okay, so you've seen successes here and there in England and in Ireland. Now you're going into France there. The Normans, as they're going to be called, these Viking descendants that where Normandy comes from here, will be a big group. And then later on, that's where invasion comes up with William the Conqueror. They come from that region. But that's later. I don't know how far they're going to take this. But okay, looks like Leif Erikson's coming up. All right. Landing in the New World, the Americas. The ladies vibing in the back. Finland.
It is
Nice. So yeah, Leif Erikson, I mean, they're obviously going to get to him. He is going to come across the Americas and is credited as the first European, at least of decent evidence, to go to North America, as they went from Iceland to Greenland and then to, which Vikings had come and gone with around, they called it Vinland, yeah, back then, but going out to the west there, but then also to going to the North America, which today would be Canada. Although they don't stay long term. I mean, there are settlements, a bunch of them dotted around the eastern coast there, but they end up, most of them, coming back eventually to kind of more of their homelands, maybe just not as sustainable, local conflicts with natives and things like that, but
It's believed Leif Erikson got blown off course on his way to Greenland and discovered Canada by accident.
Vinland.
500 years before Christopher Columbus. The
Right.
Vikings also reached Russia and North Africa, and
Right.
they were even employed in modern-day Istanbul to be an elite guard for Byzantine emperors.
yeah, I mean, going down places like the Volga and the rivers around there, going into Russia, settling settlements there. You know, some stories we would say that these Vikings are kind of the founders of these people that eventually will kind of found Russia. I know there's conjecture about that though. But yeah, going to North Africa and the North African coast and kind of looting those places as well. And then into Istanbul, or actually back then it was Constantinople, but you know, the way they're talking about it, they raided Constantinople, I think a few times, in fact. And because it was one of the wealthiest cities in the world, and since they could, you know, take ships and go down the rivers, and they were good at, you know, sieging from boat, one of the best at it, that did give them mild success as they're able to loot it. They don't conquer and take over Constantinople, but they do loot it, because that's a lot of what they were doing, and the idea of these missions of theirs. Okay, looks like we're going with them because yeah, a lot of them stick around, end up being used.
I'm looking for Emperor Basil II.
Ah, the clouds from Vladimir. Excellent. I say, that was rather aggressive, but I can't deny it was very impressive. How would you like to stay and protect me?
How long are we talking?
About 4 centuries.
The Valyrian Guard did indeed protect Byzantine emperors for 400 years. Back in Northern Europe, the Danish king Canute managed to secure power over both Scandinavia and England. England's crown then passed to Edward the Confessor. And when Edward died in 1066, a Viking challenger came forward once more.
So final thought with the whole the Byzantine thing kind of makes sense. It's like, hey, these people could kick your butt, so why not just hire them to do that? And a lot of them, again, stick around. In fact, when the Crusades come around, there's a whole line of these knights that are descendants of Vikings that, again, had converted to Christianity, became one of the fighting forces for the kind of Christian side in the Crusades, although wasn't enough help because the Crusades were largely failures on the efforts of the Christians that came and fought. All right, so we're getting to the later part, 1066. We're getting later to, you know, kind of end of this Viking era in a way.
Shout England, it's Harald Hardrada. The Vikings are back, and this time we're harder as Canute's descendants. I'm out of this throne and taking your land to make it my own.
Not so fast, you Scandinavian swine. I'm Harold Godwinson, and England is mine. At Stamford Bridge, you'll meet defeat, and I'll be king for at least 3 weeks.
Harald Hardrada's failed invasion ended the Vikings' claim to this nation, so in 1066
Booted
we
out.
turn the page on the era we call the Viking
Then you get-
Age. From
okay.
early hopeful
Yeah.
monastic raiding
William the
to
Conqueror after that.
exploration and global trading, their lasting impact was truly awesome, so let's hear it for the epic Norsemen.
Skull! They out.
Guys,
Oh.
guys,
Did I forget her?
guys, I can't reach. I need a leg up,
Help her out!
guys. Hello,
No one left behind.
Eirik. Eirik,
They're sailing.
Eirik,
Go away.
Eirik,
Go
Eirik,
away.
Eirik.
I'm with her now.
With her now. See, yeah. She turned him down, and now she's like, all right, I want to join you because she didn't want to be, you know, she thought he wasn't going to be able to get land. But yeah, then you get into the William the Conqueror era. They come from what today would be France and Normandy, come over, conquer it, and then in a lot of ways, a lot of people say kind of create the England that you kind of relate with a little bit more today, and unifying all that. So, all right, awesome. Let's talk about it. All right, that was great. I love the wit, that History Bombs does with their videos, and great lines and super informative. There was a lot of stuff in there, and they dropped a bunch of names and stuff of people that I didn't know. I knew about a lot of the major ones, but yeah, interesting to see some of those, and definitely want to lead me to going and learning more, which hopefully a lot of you guys do and find inspiration to do when you watch historical videos on YouTube. Is, it's not necessarily the instructional tool, but what it does is it can hopefully get you interested and give you stuff to look into more, and then, continue your learning that way, and just use this as scratching the surface, right? So yeah, be able to learn about more people there. I think that was pretty fun. Some great, witty lines and stuff like that. I always love the production value. They do the whole like in one take thing, which I think is kind of cool because it really blends in nicely, and of course makes it, I'm sure, a lot harder to be able to film. Maybe go check out this History of the Vikings behind the scenes video that they also have here to learn more about that. Well, that was great. Kind of Viking hype it seems like it's like at its all-time high right now with games, and I just hear more people talking about it, and there's all kinds of great shows, TV shows and stuff that are out there. It's kind of like this is like the Viking time when it comes into history. So good timing for them, and I think good timing to go ahead and visit this. So once again, they did a great job, and applause to them for all of their efforts. All right, original video link is down below. Make sure you go and click it, give it the view, subscription. Check out their other music videos because they're awesome. And if you guys like kind of me checking out this kind of stuff and giving my thoughts, like on historical songs like this, then you can let me know down in the comments. Also, just a couple things. Like I said before, I've been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and if you're watching this around the time that this is posted, so definitely follow my gaming channel, Mr. Terry Gaming, on YouTube, and also over on Twitch at Mr. Terry History, and you can come hang out if you're into video games or just want people to talk with. Also, if you would like to vote on future polls, the link to Patreon is down below, and all pledge levels will get the ability to vote in videos, so that's one way you can support the channel. Join our Discord server. We got other fun stuff down below as well, and we'll see you next time. Bye.